We're in the kitchen laboratory today and we're going to make liposomal vitamin C. Liposomal vitamin C is a special preparation of vitamin C where the vitamin C becomes encapsulated in tiny bubbles of lecithin. The reason that a person might be interested in liposomal vitamin C is because certain conditions are frequently treated with large amounts of vitamin C by certain alternative medical doctors, by naturopaths and other specialized healthcare practitioners. Those conditions include cancer of various sorts, serious infections, and toxicities. The large doses of vitamin C that we're talking about are anywhere in the neighborhood of 50 grams per day, up to in the neighborhood of 200 or more grams per day. And the way that this is usually administered is as an IV drip, which may take several hours. There's considerable cost involved in having this done in a medical doctor's office, and not everybody has such a healthcare practitioner available to them. So if you're a person who has found that they might benefit from large doses of vitamin C to treat a particular condition, then this video may be of interest to you. It's outside the scope of this video to advise you on whether you should be using large amounts of vitamin C or not, or what your dosage should be, but we're going to show you how to make liposomal vitamin C. So if you choose to do so, if you need to do so, you could create and take at home large doses of vitamin C that would approach the levels that are given by IV. Let's take a look at our ingredients. The vitamin C that we'll use is sodium ascorbate. This one is from Now Labs. These things are commodities, so you shop around for a good price from a reliable firm, and we've liked this one. The reason that we use sodium ascorbate is that the pH of sodium ascorbate is 6.9, the pH of the blood is 7.2, and the pH of ascorbic acid, the acidic form of vitamin C, is 4.1. So if we were to use ascorbic acid, there would be a lot more stress on the body to try to buffer that material that we're taking. So we want to use the buffered form of sodium ascorbate. We'll be using 160 grams of that. That's the maximum amount that can be dissolved in the amount of water and alcohol that we'll be using. And so that means that we make our preparation as concentrated as possible so you don't have to take a large volume of it. This is granular lecithin. You don't want to use liquid lecithin, it won't work well. And this particular one is soy origin, and so it's kind of a light yellow-orange color. This is a non-GMO soy lecithin from Swanson Labs, and it's reasonably priced. And being non-GMO, we just feel a little more comfortable about it. Non-GMO sunflower lecithin is also available and can be sourced. This recipe uses 12% by weight ethyl alcohol, and this is the patented recipe that's used by Live-On Laboratories to make their encapsulated vitamin C. This particular grain alcohol is as pure as you can get. It's 95% ethyl alcohol, and we'll be using 114 grams of this. All of the recipes will be itemized at the end of this video, so you don't need to worry about writing any of this down. And finally, we're using just plain potable tap water. And there's no need to use distilled water or any specially purified water. As long as it's good tap water, you're fine. So we're going to begin by adding the water to the blender, adding the alcohol to the blender. So we'll put our top back on the blender, always a good idea when you're in the kitchen. And we're going to add our dry products, our dry ingredients, while the blender is running. So we'll turn it on very lowest speed. We'll begin with the sodium ascorbate, and we'll just dump all of that in, and the granular lecithin. So we're going to leave this to blend for about 20 minutes. As you're blending the vitamin C preparation, you'll see that it undergoes some changes. So we're going to take a look at it now. It's just begun to blend. And when you look at it, you'll see that it's very watery, very thin, and it's opaque. It's kind of chalky looking, almost like milk. And what we'll see in a few minutes when we take another look is that it begins thickening. It starts looking more like heavy cream. And it goes from being opaque to being kind of a translucent color, a bit darker, kind of a greenish brown as you finish the blending process. So we'll be taking a look at that in a few minutes to see the different stages that the product goes through. I notice now that the sound of the blender has changed a little bit. When the material is very watery, very thin, there's kind of a high pitch to the blender. And the sound has decreased a little bit. You'll notice that when you're working with it. And if we take the top off, you'll see that the material is not so watery. It's not sloshing around all over. It's kind of thick like heavy cream. And this process of emulsification that makes it thicken will continue, and we'll take another look at that in a few minutes. We're at about 7 minutes into the process of blending right now. We're just coming up on about 10 minutes of blend time, and let's take another look. You can see that the material is really very thick now. It's become a bit more translucent, not quite so opaque, and this process of emulsification and thickening, kind of like making mayonnaise, will continue a bit longer. We're at about 12 minutes now of blend time, and I noticed that the pitch of the blender has gone down just a little bit more. Let's take a look at the product now and see how it looks. As you can see, it's getting really thick, and that little tornado inside the blender that went all the way down to the blade when we began, and the material was really watery. Now that's a much smaller little tornado, and we may see that it becomes thick enough that the material actually even stops moving at the top of the blender, in which case we would be finished with this step. The other thing that you'll notice about the material right now is that it's becoming pretty translucent and losing that milky quality. We're at 17 minutes of blend time now. The pitch of the blender is lowered from where we began. Let's take a look at the material. What you see is that it's very, very thick now. And that little tornado in the center is almost completely gone. If we had sampled, which I've done, the material in the very beginning as we started to blend it, and we had tasted it, we'd find that it tastes a lot like just straight sodium ascorbate, vitamin C, kind of a sour sort of a taste. What the material tastes like at the end is more like that kind of vegetable oil taste that lecithin has. And the reason it tastes more like lecithin at the end than it does in the beginning is that the vitamin C is inside of the little bubbles of lecithin. We're right at 20 minutes of blend time now. So let's take a look and see what we have. You'll notice that the material now is really, really thick. The blender is able to continually move the whole volume of the product, but if it got much thicker, what would happen is the top wouldn't move at all. There'd only be movement around the blade, and you might even hear kind of a sucking noise, kind of a cavitation noise from the blade, indicating that the material was so thick that it wasn't circulating and it was just sucking air into the blade. That wouldn't be a problem, just saying that you might notice that if the material does get a little bit thicker than it is now. So we're ready to stop the blending process. We'll just hit the off button. So let's take a look at the finished product after 20 minutes of blending. One of the things that you'll notice on the surface is that, again, kind of like mayonnaise, you'll see that this material is so stiff, so thick now that it doesn't actually lie flat the way water does. And if we kind of lift it up, as I just did, again, sort of like thin mayonnaise, this stuff is really gelled. At this point, the blending process itself has emulsified and encapsulated the vitamin C inside little bubbles of lecithin. The next step that we do, the ultrasound process, is going to make those little bubbles even tinier and tinier than they are now, which is going to increase the absorbability of the material from the gut into the bloodstream. At this point, having completed the blending process, our product is well emulsified, and the vitamin C is pretty well encapsulated into little bubbles of lecithin. The next step is going to be to use the ultrasound cleaner to make those bubbles of lecithin even smaller and more absorbable. But if you don't have an ultrasound cleaning machine and you don't intend to buy one, you can use the product as it is. You may find that you're not able to take as large a dose as you would be able to with a product that's been through the ultrasound machine, but you may be able to take in the order of, say, 20 or 25 grams a day relative to, let's say, 35 to 40 grams a day with the ultrasounded product. Let's take a look at the ultrasound machine. This particular machine sells for about $150 or less on Amazon. It's made in China, it's all stainless steel construction, and really it's built to be in an automotive shop, because the purpose of these devices is to clean dirty, oily parts, and we're using it for a different purpose, of course. But the point is that this machine is made to run all day, and you're going to get a long service from it. There are cheaper machines that are around that are built for cleaning jewelry, really. And the bin in this machine is 6 liters. The bin in these smaller machines may be only 1 liter or 2 liters, because again, the whole purpose of them is to clean your rings and earrings and things like that. The purpose of this is different. Another feature that this has, which is really nice, is that it has a heater, which actually you won't use, but it has a digital thermometer that gives you an accurate readout of the temperature inside the bin as you're working. And this is important and convenient, because you don't want the temperature of the material to go up above 32 degrees Celsius. That's 90 degrees centigrade. And so working in the range of somewhere in the 80 to 90 degrees Fahrenheit is going to give you the best result. There's a timer on this machine that goes up to 30 minutes. We have it set for 30 minutes right now. And the power of this machine is 180 watts of ultrasound cleaning power. Now, the ultrasound jewelry cleaners may be in the order of about 50 watts of ultrasound power. We're going to add water to the bin, and I'll show you why in just a moment. We're going to add enough water to put about a 1-inch bath in the bottom of the bin. And I'll show you the reason for that in just a moment. We're going to be using these bags. These are made by Reynolds. They're actually designed to bake poultry. And so they tolerate very high heat. We're going to be using them at quite a low heat, really. But they're extremely strong, so you don't have to worry about these things rupturing. And the value of using the bag is that it's going to make cleanup and transport and moving this stuff around just so much easier. So here's the bag. This is not the turkey size, that's the large size. This is the medium size bag, and that's perfect size really for what we're doing. So we just open the bag up. We're going to put it in this colander just to serve as a holder. And now we're going to pour this gel-like material. You see how thick it is. And you also notice It's very translucent. It doesn't look chalky or milky as it did in the beginning. So there we have it. This is the liposomal vitamin C, very thick. So at this point what I'm going to do is remove the air from the bag, and I'll just spin this around and tie off the bag. Kind of a half knot like that I can undo easily. Now at this point all the rest of the processing of the material is going to be done while it's in the bag. So I'm just going to set this into the water bath just like this, and I'm going to press the button to start the ultrasound. And you can hear it. So we'll be ultrasounding for half an hour. During that period, we need to agitate the material, and the way we'll do that, and this is also one of the things that makes it awfully convenient to use these bags, is to raise up the bag and to just squeeze the material like this, and then put it back in the ultrasound machine. So we want to do that every 3 to 5 minutes. If you're closer to 3 minutes, you're probably going to have a little better product than if you wait 5 minutes in between. One of the things that happens when you're using the ultrasound machine is that this ultrasound energy actually heats up the water and the vitamin C product. So let's take a look. You'll notice that we're now at 32 degrees centigrade. We started about 25, 24 degrees centigrade after the blending process. And now we're up to 32, and as we discussed earlier, 32 or approximately 90 degrees Fahrenheit is getting a little bit too warm. So we have some ice cubes here, and we're just going to put about 6 of these ice cubes in the ultrasound machine and let it move around a little bit. And what we'll see is that the temperature will, and it has already come down to 30, and that'll bring it down probably to about 27. So we'll just let it fluctuate between about 27 and 32, and we'll add, keep an eye on the temperature, and we'll add ice cubes as we need to keep that temperature down in the range that we want to see. One of the nice things about using this method of processing that I'm showing you with these Reynolds bags is that you can control temperature this way. And if you had just put all of the blended product into the trough, which is the way some people choose to process this material, you really wouldn't be able to control the temperature like that. Having the material in the bag and having the water bath allows you to control that temperature precisely. Our product is finished now. We've ultrasounded for 30 minutes, we've agitated the bag every 3 to 5 minutes, and we've made sure that the temperature didn't rise above about 30 degrees. In fact, we've kept it with ice cubes down around 25 most of the time. This is what your finished product will look like. Particularly if it's made with soy lecithin. It's kind of a tan color. It'll be a little darker if you make it with sunflower lecithin. And one of the things that you'll see, and this is important to realize, is that within a day or 2 or 3 days, certainly within a week, this will be considerably darker than it is now. That's just a little bit of oxidation that's happening. You absolutely don't have to worry that it's unsafe, particularly if you're keeping it in the refrigerator, but that little bit of oxidation is enough to darken the product, and so don't think that the product's gone bad. It hasn't. For convenience, we're going to use a plastic water bottle to store this material so that we can kind of squirt it out into a glass to use. Let's say that you were a person who wanted to take 30 grams of vitamin C per day. This preparation is 6 grams of vitamin C per ounce in the finished product. So what you could do is simply measure out for the day 5 ounces of liposomal vitamin C, and then you don't have to measure each dose. You just know that by the end of the day, you want the bottle to be empty. So let's say that you had a goal of taking 30 grams of vitamin C in a day. That would be 5 ounces of this material because there are 6 grams in each ounce. So you could, if you like, simply use a shot glass and measure out an ounce or an ounce and a half and use that to dose yourself in perhaps 5, 6, 7, 8 doses a day to get down the full 5 ounces that is your goal. My preference is not to taste this stuff at all. Even though it doesn't taste that bad, I just prefer not to taste the lecithin. So here's what I do. I have a glass with about an ounce or 2 ounces of water in it. And this thick gel, when we add it to the glass, that's about an ounce or so, doesn't mix with the water. It doesn't even stick to the glass. And in fact, it's not even going to stick to my throat. So that is the oyster shooter method of taking the liposomal vitamin C, and it's really nice. Otherwise, the lecithin material gets all over in your mouth, sticks to your tongue and your teeth, and you're going to taste it for about half an hour, which is not unpleasant. But if you do it this way, it just goes right down the throat and you don't taste it at all. So there you have it. That's our recipe for liposomal vitamin C. I think for many people it may be a very important addition to your nutritional profile and something that could be a big help.